If you've seen a good belt versus an old belt, you've seen them all. So right here you can see old belt cracky, new belt not cracky. Okay. Okay now. Well, I came back with my iPhone because I'm really not happy with the GoPro footage and anything I was getting with that. And the vocals are terrible on that. The microphone's awful. So anyway, here we are. We're back in. I already took the wheel off, obviously. Car's jacked up. We also have it with a jack stand. So anyway, we were in here to change this belt right here. As you can see, this belt's been squeaking and it looks awful. Now that belt is behind this belt, which as you can see, also cracked and awful. So we're gonna have to change both belts. Well, I only have one belt, this one. So I'll have to run out tomorrow and pick up this one. But I was also telling you on my GoPro footage that right here, focus, no, focus, okay. It doesn't want to focus on that little part. But anyway, right there is the crankshaft sensor. When I bought this car, I had to fix that. I had to pull that, I think it's two 10mm bolts, and a little plug. Has a push, you pull it out, and then you put in the new. This one lifts right out. There, it focused. Pull it straight out, take your new one, put it straight in, tighten down the bolts, plug in the plug. And the error code has not come back for the crankshaft sensor. So anyway, on to what we're doing now. As you can see, right there is your oil filter. Down here is your oil drain plug. So right there are the elements you need to drain your oil. Right in off the passenger side front. So anyway, there is, I'm not sure if you can see it on the phone, but there is a bolt. It's the tensioner bolt for the power steering and alternator pulley. Power steering and alternator belt. So I'm going to loosen that up. That's going to loosen this belt. That just happens to be, if I remember correctly, a 12mm socket. So I will work on that. I'm going to show you up top what we got up here. Since we have to take the other belt off also. Here's the tensioner right there. This is the tensioner for the other belt that runs everything else. So that happens to be a 14mm socket. So I'm going to loosen both of those up, and before I do, I'm going to make sure to get pictures, not that I'll forget, of how this is routed. You want to make sure you do that. So it goes around here. See how cracked that is? That's terrible. Goes under that one, over the one in the corner, straight down over this one, and back around. That one obviously goes on the inner pulley on here, and just around that one. So that's all I need to know. I'm going to work on that, and I'll be back. Okay, new update. There's a locking nut on the center of that pulley that you have to undo first. Then you can turn this just like that to loosen it up. I loosened it up and it didn't go anywhere. So now I unlocked the locking nut, which is a 14 millimeter also, and then I was able to turn it down and the belt. I was able to pull the belt right off. Now this is the main drive belt, and you saw it on the car, but now you can see it. See how cracked up that is? That's not a good belt. I'm gonna have to go buy one of those. So I'm gonna work on getting the second one off. Alright guys, before it gets too dark on me, I'm gonna show you what I can't even reach with my tools. So you see the pulley that I'm at? Straight ahead, there's that pulley. Beyond that, to the lower corner of the pulley, you see the the adjustment nut, the tensioning nut. Well, above that, at the top of that, is a 12 millimeter nut that I need to get loose so that I can adjust the lovely tensioning screw. Well, I need to find a wrench to get on there because I can't find the right sizes to even get in there. So that's what I'm going to work on next. Wish me luck. Hey gang, I'm back on day 2. So I'm not going to bore you with all the things that I figured out. I'll just tell you what I did. And I won't tell you how long it took me, but I will just tell you it took longer than it needed to. We'll say that. So both belts are off. As you can see, no belt there. That's the power steering. And then the other belt that runs the AC generator, alternator, they called it a generator, is off too. So here's what we got. If you've seen a good belt versus an old belt, you've seen them all. So right here you can see old belt cracky, new belt not cracky. Okay, this is the power steering belt. And the funny thing is, I wanted to replace this belt and I ordered the wrong one and got it in. When I went to do it, I realized I needed both belts, so I had to go buy this one anyway, even though I already had this one and thought I had the other one. So this one I showed you before, but you can see very easily that that's all cracky. The new one is not. So loosening the tensioner on the first belt wasn't hard. The lock nut was easy to get to. The second one gave me a lot of trouble, and I realized I had to go buy a wrench. This offset wrench did the trick. Sorry, that's the 13 side. We needed the 12 side, but that loosened the lock nut up instantly. So good to have this on hand. I got the set, so I have all the metric ones that they offered at Harbor Freight. So there you go, Harbor Freight saved the day with this wrench. But it was hard to get to the tensioner, and I ended up going with this whole contraption, and it was a 12 millimeter also. But I went in from this side, and I ended up going in from completely underneath. I do have these extensions and then this on the end because it wasn't completely straight up, but I was able to hold this on there and turn it, and then it was able to loosen it up. But as I watched another video, they said that it was reverse threaded, and they were correct, but I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere, so I went the other direction and I tightened it up. Then I realized that was definitely not the case, So it took me a long time to get it loosened up. But if you feel like you're not getting anywhere, just keep testing the belt, and you'll realize that it's loosening. Just make sure it's loose enough to get it off pretty easily. I was ready to cut it off, and then the new belts are always harder to get on than the old ones are to get off, so there's no point in cutting it, because then I couldn't get the new one on. So anyway, we are just about to put the new belts on. I won't bore you with that. You just slide them on just like you took off the old one, and then I'll tighten them up and I'll tell you when I'm done. Alright guys, quick update. Let me get my flashlight. As you can see, it got dark on me here, so while I was at Harbor Freight, I got my free new flashlight. Realized how dim my old one was, so now we got light. So new belt went on. Obviously you follow the path of the old one, and there's the power steering belt. Let's see, can I put this here? Can I put this here? Maybe. Okay. Power steering belt. I do not have a gauge, so somebody on YouTube said turn it 90 degrees, and if you should be about tight there, so that's about good. As you can see, moves a little, but it's not super tight. Same here. Oops. moves a bit. Turn it 90 degrees. That's about right. So, hopefully, that advice was good. So we got the crank pulley here. That runs up and around. You've seen enough of that tensioner, but got the tensioner done and the lock nut down, thanks to the offset 12mm wrench from Harbor Freight. Then we have crankshaft. The one thing I will say is my old belts might have been pretty stretched. When you're going to put your new belts on, make sure that you have loosened the tensioners enough that you can get it around. I am used to General Motors. I've only ever done belts on GM cars, and they have a spring-loaded tensioner that you basically just push back, and I've always trusted those. And all you gotta do is push it back and run your belts around it, and it's pretty easy. I've never done these screw type that Nissan uses, and this is my first time, so we're gonna hope that I made them the proper tension. But when I was trying to get this belt on, it just wouldn't stretch around, and I just loosened the tensioner up more. So I'm guessing the tensioner was loose enough to get the old stretch belt off, but the new one would not fit. So we went around that pulley, let's see if I can get under here and show you. And that pulley, that is the tensioner right there. Up on top there, I can't remember the diagram. I don't know, that might be the AC. Yeah, no, that's the alternator. Okay. That's the alternator, which makes, I don't know. Anyway, the grooves to the grooves, and the tensioner's in the middle. That's the smooth one that it runs around the outside of the belt. So anyway, I'll take you up top. Just make sure they're all seated correctly. Alright, let's go up top and show you the tensioner for the second belt here. Okay, the dogs are gonna sing to you. So yeah, we just ran the tensioner down, tightened it up with the wrench. That was a 14mm, and the locking nut is actually in the center of the pulley. So just remember to lock that down. And we should be good to go. So now I'm going to pull this off and get that out of the way. There with the other tools and the old belts and the extensions and oh, the other thing I'll tell you, I don't know if this is correct, but the tensioner on the back belt, which is the power steering, if you're loosening that to loosen the belt and the bolt kind of moves forward, as you're loosening that, it's pushing the back pulley down so that it loosens the pulley. Well, that bolt moved forward on me, and I don't think it was doing what it was supposed to do. So I pushed it back, kept loosening it, and if you have the same problem, you'll know what I'm saying. If not, you're probably confused, but I pushed it back into place and it did its job. So anyway, if that doesn't make sense, sorry. So now what we're gonna do, start it up and check for squeals. And if it's not squealing like before, I'd say we did a good job. Okay, car's locked. Okay, here we go. Let's get her started up. Sorry about that. Now my lights. Systems go. Well, that's not encouraging. I'll shut it down. Oh, there we go. Normal guy getting by. Got new belts on and it screams worse than before. Now maybe it's too tight. Or maybe it wasn't the belt at all. And I need a new power steering pump. I guess we'll find out. Catch you later.